Do you guys remember March and April 2024 when a lot of investors were panicking, money managers were panic selling, telling everybody why they were panic selling, and I was roasting them all for being DMFs who'd probably regret it a few years from now? Well, today, for the very first time in this channel, we're going to take a trip down memory lane, and I'm actually going to play a few clips from some videos I posted between mid-March 2024 with Tesla stock around $160 a share and the following couple of weeks. What were analysts saying? What was the finance media saying? And what was I saying? Now, just to be clear, this is the last time you're going to be hearing from me, as in President Stephen, in today's video. I'm going to play these clips in full so you guys can hear what I was saying, what analysts were saying, what the finance media were saying, and whether or not these comments, thoughts, and actions have aged well. There is an important lesson here, folks. Those who had a grip on their emotions probably loaded up on Tesla stock near these 12-month lows. And by the way, just to be clear, the 52-week low, $138.80 per share, Tesla stock is now up 2.5 times to $352 a share. What an opportunity. I mean, call me crazy, but personally, I think I would have preferred to be buying Tesla stock at $138 than $361. But hey, if I have no choice, I'm still paying $361. I'm looking at robotaxis and holy shit, dude. But it's important that we revisit these moments of panic, fear, concern, and either learn from our own mistakes or ideally from the mistakes of others from mid-March 2024.
Before we let you go, though, I wanted to actually come back to Tesla and just have you respond to this Wells Fargo note today, questioning, obviously, significant discounts, profit per car coming way down, and their price target at Wells now, I think, 125.
Yeah, we strongly disagree with him. Obviously, we respect the analysts and the call, but I think right now, overly negatively discounted in terms of the Tesla story. Look, near term, clearly units are going to be soft for 1Q. Just getting back from the region, I believe price cuts are now starting to subside in China. That's important. I think when you look through the next 6-9 months, we're going to look at this as more of a golden buying opportunity for Tesla over the next 2-3 years, especially with AI, rather than time to throw in the white towel. But for now, we all know, I mean, the New York City cab driver is bearish on Tesla here.
Dan has some classic calls. Now, nobody knows what's going to happen in the future, but odds are Dan's comments are probably going to age pretty well in terms of 2-3 years from now. Looking back, this is probably going to have been a golden buying opportunity. But again, you never know. We've seen Tesla stock go absolutely nowhere for more than half a decade historically, and this is entirely unscientific. But my gut feel is we're approaching peak fear. A lot of people throwing in the white towel. Name some names here. Gary Black dumping a bunch of Tesla in his fund. The man, Jordan, of the limiting factor, once referred to as sentient hair gel, also dumping Tesla stock. Actually, I'm noticing a pattern. People who manage money for others, even YouTubers, currently dumping Tesla stock. Now, don't get me wrong. This could be a profitable short-term trade. Like I said, nobody knows what the future holds. However, personally, not a bet I would be attempting to make. Why? Well, as I've said a million times, my brain's nowhere near big enough to successfully trade in and out of stocks over short-term hunches. So I just continue to buy and hold with literally every spare cent. What do you guys think? 2 to 3 years from now, is Dan Ives going to be right? Will this have looked like an all-time buying opportunity with Tesla's market cap just over $500 billion? We're going to look back in 2026, 2027. Okay, it was what? $550 billion? That's it? By the way, pay attention, folks, especially if you've only been invested in Tesla for the last couple of years. This is quite a lesson in human psychology and sentiment. And I've got to say, it's pretty amazing to see Dan having planted a flag now and saying, look, fuck this. Instead of being blown by the winds of sentiment, he's really holding firm.
What does that mean? Sorry.
Everyone's bearish. The piling on's there. The bears are coming out of hibernation mode. I get it.
I see what you mean, yeah.
But we believe now is not time throwing the towel on Tesla, on Apple. I think we see there 6-9 months now, stock's much higher.
Cue the next clip. I'm sure many people watching will recognize Brad Gerstner, occasional fill-in on the All In podcast and founder of Altimeter Capital, currently managing close to $20 billion US. He has some thoughts on Tesla.
In China, a company that has continued to cut prices in large part because of lagging EV sales is Tesla, which you bought. It's been a terrible performer, as you know. It's certainly the worst of the mega caps, if you want to still call it that, year to date. Why'd you buy Tesla, Brad?
Well, Scott, you start with probably the best product engineer CEO on the planet, a stock that's sold off a lot, right? And, when everybody else is negative about things, like negative on Google, negative on Tesla, that's when we start getting excited, particularly when they're run by a founder who's as extraordinary a product leader as Elon Musk. But there was a second catalyst, and a little plug here for my podcast BG2 Pod with Bill Gurley. We went into this in depth 3 or 4 weeks ago, but Tesla, kind of when everybody else was asleep, launched full self-driving 12. This was their new generation of self-driving model on their car. I described it on Twitter as, when I took a test ride in it, as kind of a chat GPT moment. In fact, I think Michael Dell said something similar on Twitter.
True. Brad has said a lot of things there that are really on point. A lot of people still remain asleep about FSD V12. They just don't get it. I covered the first demo at the time. Musk was driving around, or should I say being driven around, showing off what this software could do. It was a breakthrough watershed moment. I detailed why at the time. There was zero reaction from analysts, finance media, many retail investors. It just didn't register. Still hasn't registered. Still a lot of people asleep today not realizing what's happened. This really is a ChatGPT moment. And in my opinion, the majority of investors are still oblivious to this. They're waiting and waiting and waiting. And eventually, I guess these folks are waiting to be bitch slapped in the face with the first paid robo-taxi fare before they finally realize, oh, wait, this is actually incredible real-world AI and will become superhuman in its capabilities and will be a product that many others will wish to license from Tesla. And Tesla does, in fact, have an unassailable lead. And companies like Cruise and Waymo have built a brittle party trick that will never scale or compete with Tesla's autonomy. Therefore, Tesla is going to take the lion's share of a winner-takes-most market in many regions globally. And this is a huge fucking deal. A deca-trillion-dollar opportunity. Tesla's far and away in the pole position and not going to be giving up that lead. I think most folks are still asleep. They're too concerned about Q1, Q2, tomorrow, next week, later this year, and really missing the forest for the trees. Seems like Brad gets it.
Why is that? Because they totally scrapped their prior deterministic models and have moved to an imitation learning model that really, for the first time, unlike Waymo, which is still a deterministic model, feels like a human driving the car. So I think they're making massive progress at an accelerating rate on FSD 12. He's now pushed that out for free to all Tesla owners so that they get to sample, see what it feels like. If a meaningful, or even just a small percentage of those agree to pay him $200 a month for FSD 12, all of a sudden this goes from razors to razor blades, right? Where people are paying for services. Think about that services transition at Apple that occurred in 2015, 2016, and it's the type of thing that other people can't easily copy. He's got 5 million robot cars on the road collecting data that's training this imitation model that makes it demonstrably better and almost impossible for all the traditional OEMs to replicate.
Did he just say almost impossible, aka Tesla has an unassailable lead? I think that's exactly the fuck what he just said. He's right. It's important. And in case you missed the recent video in which I speculated / outright said it's going to happen, we've heard recent rumours out of Ford they're working on a dedicated autonomous vehicle. They ain't working on autonomy, which means they're going to be licensing this from Tesla. Brad's comments about the razor blade versus the razor, important distinction here as well. A lot of people, most people, are looking at Tesla as a company that produces razors, as in vehicles, as in you sell the thing once, you make a bit of money on it, cool story, bro, the end. Whereas the software, autonomy, and other services in the future are the razor blade model. You sell the razor once, make some money on that, but then you have recurring revenue, ongoing every month. The floodgates are about to open, folks. I don't know exactly when it happens. Brad's point about it being almost impossible for others to catch up to Tesla is accurate AF. And it's quite interesting, isn't it? Brad, who's literally managing, give or take, $20 billion US, is buying Tesla stock. There are others currently selling Tesla stock, even shorting Tesla stock, who are managing total assets that, relative to what Brad manages, would look like rounding errors. Just the polar opposite right now. Brad's loading up. He's buying. He seems to understand the profound implications of FSD V12, trained end-to-end just on video with its human-like behaviors. And others are currently selling or even shorting or massively trimming their positions. It's going to be fun to watch this play out. For what it's worth, I'm still currently buying with every spare cent.
So we like that for Tesla, but we also stipulate China's messy. We think a lot of the negativity is priced in. We think they could miss their delivery numbers next week. So you got to, this is not for the faint of heart. You have to size it appropriately. You have to be willing to buy more, if the stock goes down. But betting on Elon Musk, particularly in the age of AI, where he is building market-leading AI and market-leading models around these cars, I think is a bit of a no-brainer.
We are going to leave it there. I appreciate you.
Interesting that there was no direct response to what Brad said. Now, I just want to emphasize, Brad's talking about real-world AI, Tesla's AI leadership. Apparently, Brad thinks that Tesla is in fact an AI company, which would also directly contradict what we've recently heard from some people who manage money for others, whose names I shan't mention. But hey, what would Brad know? He's just a moron, doesn't know anything about anything, nor does he have a track record. Cue the third and final clip. Dan catchphrase Ives continues to deliver the goods. This time, Tesla is going through a code red situation right now.
To report first quarter deliveries next week. Joining us now on why he's lowering his price target on the stock ahead of those numbers is Dan Ives, Wedbush Securities managing partner. I don't know, it just makes me smile a little bit, Dan. You could be lowering your numbers because the stock's at 175 and your target's 315. That'd be a good reason. We'll get all your other reasons, but that's a good start, I think. But it's
Is Joe trolling Dan, suggesting that Dan just chases Tesla stock with his price targets? I think Dan has recently changed his tune from chasing to drawing a line in the sand, and I've been giving him credit recently for holding fairly firm with his price target, seeming to understand the AI opportunity, autonomy, and a lot of things that other folks on Wall Street are ignoring. Strange opening from Joe there.
It's a little bit odd. You're going down $15 to 300, and you're keeping an outperform rating. All this sounds sort of, I don't know, too little, too late.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's obviously a great point. Look, we're bullish for Tesla on the other side.
Well, you must be, because you still have a $300 price target.
This challenging period.
What's that return from 180 to 300 is? So you're still looking for like a 70% return.
Yeah,
right?
and look, we've been here before. In other words, like there's no doubt, and we call it out. I mean, this is a code red situation for Tesla. I mean, they are going through some dark days in China from a demand perspective. But Joe, I believe on the other side of this, this is a company, not just from an FSD perspective, but from volume that could start to get 2.5, 3 million vehicles per year as we go into next few years. Our whole point here is you're in between two growth waves here. They clearly need to lay out a strategy for investors because this is going to be a rip the Band-Aid off delivery quarter next week. And there's no smoke and mirror about it. And I think right now from Musk, I kind of view it as a fork in the road period to handle investors through this.
You are pretty blunt. First quarter deliveries for Tesla, and we'll find out next week, but you expect it to be a nightmare quarter because of China and China demand.
Yeah, I mean, China, we originally had that up 3-4%. It's going to be down 3 to 4%. And the issue here, is just that Game of Thrones price war that's happened in China with EVs. It's hurt Tesla, and I think right now the problem is, do they continue to cut prices, or do they ultimately hold serve and focus on where demand could be? And I think,
spoiler alert, Tesla will continue to cut prices as necessary to keep selling through volume. Not only is this in line with Tesla's mission statement, but Musk is also on the record saying that if necessary, they'd sell vehicles for literally no profit at all. And why would you do that, other than the fact that it's in line with your mission? The answer would be autonomy, which funnily enough seems to comprise a huge portion of Dan's $300 price target on Tesla stock, close to a doubling from here. A huge moment earlier this week when Tesla received a message from the boss, Musk, saying, listen, bitches, every new customer taking delivery of a Tesla vehicle, you guys now need to give them a quick trip around the block, so to speak, showing what FSD V12 can do. And all US Tesla owners, new and existing, get a 1-month free trial of FSD. A lot of people still think of Tesla as a car business, just a car business. But we're watching them transform into a hardware and, more importantly, services business. People will be subscribing to FSD, $200 per month, a recurring revenue stream, extremely high profit margins. This is another key reason why Tesla will continue to sell through vehicles at whatever the market clearing price. Now, it's true they are between growth waves. Next-gen vehicle soon, current generation vehicles now. There's no magic instantly start producing high volumes of future vehicle models button, unfortunately. So it's inevitable. Next 12 or so months, we're not going to see any real meaningful growth in Tesla vehicle volumes because they're not ramping production of any new vehicles. And they're close to maxed out their existing capacity at existing facilities. To add new capacity requires the construction of new lines. It doesn't happen overnight. So we all know this is coming. to Dan's point, on the other side of this, I mean, hello, Tesla stock, the market cap of the company right now is not that far off Toyota. People are panicking. Sentiment is down. This is a gift from the investing gods, in my opinion. Now, to be clear, Tesla will price their vehicles at whatever they need to keep selling all the vehicles they're producing. They've told us this, so hopefully Dan knows this.
As much as we talk about FSD and why we're long-term bullish, and I do believe we're sitting here a year and a half from now at $1 trillion plus market cap.
Yeah, so when we were up at 300 or 299, wherever it was, I get at that point, were you still worried about supply and you didn't see the demand issues coming?
Yeah, I think where we were dead wrong is underestimating just how bad China demand was going to be.
China demand.
So for us, when I look back, that's really what's caught us, I think, many by surprise in terms of just how quickly demands come off, but also with no adult in the room and with 2 disaster conference calls in a row, they haven't laid out guidance, they haven't given the strategy. You've had other noise in terms of the AI issues with Musk and obviously the Delaware comp issue, which is added to it. But I think that's the problem. They haven't laid out the strategy to where investors right now feel like they're blindfolded playing darts.
I think what Dan is suggesting is that Tesla has not spoon-fed analysts numbers to put in their spreadsheets. Instead, analysts are supposed to do the thinking and the work themselves.
Do you have a price target in terms of 300, but do you think we're near a low here, depending on what happens next week?
I mean, I think right now a lot of the bad news is big. I mean, we wouldn't be bullish if I didn't think that this stock is
Why not put a buy on it then?
That is our highest rating.
Outperforms your highest rating?
Outperforming. Okay. It's on our top picks list. And I just view it as we've been through these white knuckle periods before over the years. This isn't.
So Dan's right about these, quote, white knuckle periods over the years. And just interesting on screen now, the huge spread between different price targets. Dan Ives, $300 a share, which is after cutting a few dollars. You got Citibank, $196 per share. Bernstein, $120. Final price target here on screen, $150. Dan's target is almost 3 times that of Bernstein. It's so unusual to see such a wide variety of expectations in terms of fair value for any company, let alone one so large. Usually, an analyst that's like 30% above where a stock's at is an outrageous bull. Most analysts seem to really cluster around roughly the same spot. Now, clearly, not everyone here is going to be right. The question is, will 12 plus months from now, we'll be looking back on, holy shit, that really was the deal of the century. Only time will tell.
Another one now that we're hitting, and we're just calling it out, give out the strategy to what Musk needs to do in the conference call to get through some dark days ahead.
He doesn't really listen, though, to we've seen when you ask him about how do you feel about criticism, he doesn't, he's going to do what he thinks is right.
Joe does have a point here. Elon gives 0 fucks what the analysts at Wall Street want him to do, and if I'm being honest, I would prefer Musk to do the polar opposite of what they want. If they believe that Musk doing certain things will help Tesla stock, I'd rather he do certain things that don't help Tesla stock, because I'm still buying, and the cheaper I buy, the better. I'm not judged on my quarterly performance. Ideally, I'd like to be judged over multiple decades. Between you and I, I'm pretty confident that Musk is focused on Tesla, their company, the execution, and gives approximately 0.0 fucks about the stock price or what analysts want him to do and or fund managers want him to do. At the end of the day, it is execution that matters, and only execution that matters.
And he's in a position to be able to do that.
No doubt, but I do think...
Will he, you said no adults in the room, but you think he'll return to giving the street what it wants in these calls?
Well, I think ever since they lost their CFO since August, there have been basically Nightmare on Elm Street conference calls. This, I believe, is a wake-up call from a demand perspective. And look, if they don't lay this out in terms of the strategy and turn this around, then you could not just have some darker days, but I believe a lot of investors will start to lose faith in where the Tesla story is going, even though we're in between 2 growth waves. And that's our whole point, is that this is a nightmare in the near term. There's massive growth on the other side. You need to handhold investors through it, no different than we've seen Jensen, Cook.
Hold up a sec. Why would Elon need to hold investors' hands? I think Dan's got this all wrong. If there's investors out there that haven't built their own valuation model, that aren't making their own estimates, that aren't trying to analyze the company over the next few years, the next 5, 10 plus years, If there's investors who don't have the emotional fortitude and or intelligence, if they capitulate, they panic, they worry, they sell near the bottom, that's their fucking problem. This is like a warning label on a hammer that says, do not hit yourself in the head with this thing. I mean, hello, is it really necessary? No. Some people just aren't cut out for investing. That's on them. It's not the job of a company to hold investors' hands. If you can't handle the ups and downs, get the fuck out of the kitchen. This is bizarre. I would much rather the company be focused on actually executing than holding the hands of investors. The more weak hands that get shaken out, the better, in my opinion. The greater the mismatch and the disparity between perception and reality around Tesla and the stock, the better. I'm still buying. Tesla is not your emotional therapist. It's not their job to hold your hand. Weird. And I hope you guys are very clear. I'm absolutely serious here. In fact, I would prefer Tesla to do the opposite of hand holding and encourage investors who don't have their emotional shit together, who panic, to get the fuck out of the stock. If they can't handle it, if you have an emotional breakdown, you're probably not cut out for owning Tesla stock. It has a history of extreme volatility, of being massively misunderstood. The ups and downs are par for the course. If you want a less bumpy ride, Tesla's probably not for you. That's what I would prefer Tesla management to be pointing out. I mean, Tesla's been very fucking clear. They talk about autonomy, the implications, the humanoid robot. They're telling everybody what they're executing on. They're completely transparent and open. Oh, hey, President Stephen here again. And holy shit, how good was that trip down memory lane? Let me know in the comments below if you were panic selling or panic buying. Want more content? Early access? Bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 is awesome. I've been taking it daily now for more than 3 years. It's a great way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's packed full of vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients. Plus, it has prebiotics, probiotics, and adaptogens to improve gut health, regularity, and help your body handle stress. I'm always looking for an edge to help me feel and perform my best, which is why I haven't missed a day of AG1 for more than 3 years. Just try it and see how you feel. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs. This is what viewers of the channel had to say after trying AG1. I feel like I have a lot more energy since I started on AG1. Just got my AG1 in the mail, legit feeling the effects after day 3. 3 months ago, I started AG1 and have been enjoying the evenness of alertness and energy that lasts the day. I just started the wife on it too. Are you convinced yet? I mean, hey, it's worth trying, right? Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR or I can keep going. This viewer, after about a month on AG1, definitely a lack of fatigue in the afternoon. Pleasant side effect is that my coffee intake has imploded and is almost down to 0. One more? Yeah, why not? I honestly feel younger and will be continuing to use AG1. This stuff really is crazy good. I didn't think it would be, but this stuff is awesome. It really is what everyone is saying. One more? Don't mind if I do. I've just received my 3rd month supply. I've drank it every day. I have so much energy throughout most of the day. I'm productive, started a new business, started socializing, refurbished a boat. It's no coincidence. Thank you for your persistence, your integrity, and your insights. Now look, these are not my words. These are not my testimonials. This is what you guys and girls are saying. Maybe it's 100% placebo effect. But even if that's the case, I think it's money well spent. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs.